They make the trek out to Burning Man for a week and a day. After a lot of work, oh, there's a lot of play. Party, 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 drama, 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 bitch, bitch, bitch. Year after year, they come back to scratch that itch. They all say their lives have been changed. After many years, lives have been rearranged. That change is what this show is all about. You'll see the impact of Burning Man up and out. So sit back, relax, and cancel all your plans. These are the stories about the shadow of the man.
Okay, hello and welcome to The Shadow of the Man. This is our third episode, and our guest today is the one and only George Pap. George, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Andy.
So, George, I think aren't you the very first regional contact, right? Or you were
Correct.
the first
Both.
regional formed, probably the first regional burn, the oldest regional burn.
Yes. So the story is, we were the first burn, and it was in like June 8th, 1998, and I had come back from Burning Man, um, and had an amazing time. I'll give you a little bit more of the backstory.
Well, we'll get into
Um,
that like a little later. I just like
okay,
right now, it's just kind of briefly, just kind of like like who you are within the Burning Man world to give like people
got
an
it.
idea.
Okay,
So
so
actually, what I'd like to start is where it all started. So where'd you come from?
sure. Hi.
Where'd it all start?
Well, it all started. The interesting thing is, I went to school. I got my degree in physics at Berkeley
Hmm.
in 1987. So I was
Okay.
actually in the Bay Area when the man first started in '86.
Ah,
But I didn't have. I was in school. I had no
uh,
idea. I did.
so where were you born? Like where'd you grow up?
Sure. I was born in California, in San Luis Obispo, mid Central
Okay.
Coast. And then I moved to Pittsburgh and got junior high and high school in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And then I moved to I actually spent a couple years in Vermont in my youth, and
Oh, really?
then
Where in Vermont?
Springfield.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because I spent like my wife grew up in Putney, Vermont, which is just about like
Oh,
30
okay.
minutes from there. Yeah, yeah. I was actually just there like for 2 weeks just this summer. But anyway, it's not about me. This is about you.
So yeah, so it was interesting because Burning Man actually started while I was in the Bay Area,
Okay.
and
So you went to
um,
school at Berkeley as an undergraduate?
yes, and so Burning Man people were at Berkeley at that time. If I had just run the right crowds, I would have almost certainly been involved in the earlier years. But for me, I worked for Motorola. I was right out of college. I got a degree in physics. Went to Motorola. I was a device engineer in a factory, for computer chips.
Okay.
And um, I had a girlfriend that kindly turned me on to paganism. And so I was involved in camping and basically a pagan group that had camp outs and stuff like that. And that's when I started camping and really enjoying this kind of community of like-minded people. And I was working for Motorola, and one of my friends said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Burning Man?" And this was 1996. And
Okay.
I said, no, what is it? And he explained it to me, and I thought, wow, that sounds pretty awesome. And the thing was, I already had a party planned on South Padre, a tiki party on the beach with my friends. So I already had some plans for that Labor Day. So I said, well, maybe next year. Well, then the Bruce Sterling article came out, right, with Burning Man,
Oh yeah, I remember
The
that.
new
Yeah.
American holiday, right?
Yeah.
And that was like really the first mainstream. It was on Wired magazine, and it was, like, what is this? And um, so Yeah, I have to edit this out. I just
No,
lost my
no,
train
no,
of
no.
thought.
That's like no.
Where
That
was
was
I?
it. 1996. You said
Oh,
the
right, right,
Wired
right,
article
right.
came out. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So the Wired article, when I saw that, I was like, I gotta go. And then I got a new job within Motorola. I was in a corporate relo in Phoenix. I was working about 60 hours a week, and my boss was a jerk. And I was just like, oh, I said I was going to go to Burning Man. I'm in Phoenix. Burning Man's not that far away, it's not that expensive. So I decided at that time, Burning Man started on Wednesday.
yeah.
And so I decided I'd go. And I at that time, Burning Man hadn't gotten their permit.
So wait,
So
wait. Year was
then
this? Was this
it would have been 97.
97? Okay. That was the
Yeah, so
year that was it the Wallapai Playa, like
yes, that's correct.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that. And which is it was my first burn, so I didn't know any difference. But I do have friends that I've met, in Austin that had gone to the 96 burn, which is where Burning Man really transitioned from
Yeah, that
its
was actually
anarchy.
that was my first year. That was anyway. People can hear all
Wow.
about that in my episode, but yeah, it was kind of nuts. Yeah. I actually only went for like the weekend. Like I think we got there Saturday and left like Monday or something, but yeah.
Well, and
But
that's
anyway,
what I think is kind of interesting is how Burning Man didn't even start out as a whole week. I mean, it really was kind of a weekend thing, and so I was in a deep depression. I broke up with my girlfriend. I had a job that was very demanding, and so I literally just that night, that Sunday, booked my airfare, rented a car,
so you
and
flew like to Reno, rented a
yeah, flew to
car, and
Reno,
just
rented a car, and it ended up being this huge boat. I mean, it was like a Lincoln. It was huge because
and
I
did
had
you
so
go
many points
just
from work.
did you just go by yourself or did you go with
Yeah,
anybody else?
just went by myself,
And was there
and
anybody you were camping with or you were gonna like meet there?
no, I had no idea. I went to Costco. I didn't even know you needed a membership, but I bought like $300 worth of stuff. So they like let me buy
You
it,
get it for free. Yeah.
and I didn't know what to get, so I got like a bag of oranges, a pallet of blueberry muffins, like 3 cases of beer, and I don't know, some other snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I
What
mean,
more
it
do
was
you need?
yeah. What more do you need? And I got there about midnight, and I drove into the middle of center camp, and I rolled down my window, and I asked, "Where do I park?"
Like
And
anywhere?
then yeah, I mean, the guy was kind of like, well, actually, I think back up the road a couple lanes and over there's some good spots. So I went and camped there. I slept in my car the first night, and then I had a tent. I set up, and it was really cool because that first morning at Burning Man, I met like a film professor from NYU that was doing 16 or 8 millimeter films and stuff, and I met
Uh-huh.
a couple grad students that were on their way to California, and that's what stop on the way there. And then I just met all these really cool people. I mean, really cool people. I went to Bianca's Smut Shack, which was a very
Oh, yeah, yeah. That
infamous
was
camp,
that was probably one of
and
the like 2 years they were there or something. I think it was like 97,
yeah,
98. Like,
yeah, it
yeah,
was
yeah.
it was pretty outrageous. But anyway, I was chatting with a lady there, and I'm like, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh, I fly around the world. You know those paintings for ski resorts for snow skiing, the trail maps?" She
Oh,
said,
she
"I'm a."
makes the trail
She's a
maps?
specialist. She's a specialist in making trail maps and travels all over the world making trail maps.
That's a good gig.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just an amazing people,
Yeah. Well,
and
anyway, just a quick short diversion. I remember one of my fondest Bianca's Smut Shack memories. And then, okay, for the rest of the world who doesn't know what Bianca's Smut Shack, well, do you want to give a brief description?
it was it's basically like a Bedouin tent, with lots of couches playing stag films, and there were couches and beds and stuff
And
around,
free
and
grilled cheese.
free grilled cheese. That's right. That was the whole allure, was to go there for Bianca's grilled
Yeah, they
cheese, and
must
they
have had
did.
like 3 or 4 box trucks that just were filled full of couches.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
it was a really nice place to just chill in the evening and stuff. And
yeah. There's a lot of sexual activity going on. let's say.
Yeah.
So anyway, so my story was I was walking around the outside of it with like my brother and a friend of mine, and we see these two is it the Washoe Pershing County, like, sheriff's deputies, right?
Yep.
So there was
Yep.
this kind of like the side was like all of a bunch of tarps, but there was kind of like an opening, like a V, an opening, and they could just see like with arms folded these two guys, and they're like they're green, the BLM or whatever, washout like outfits, and they're staring intently. And so we kind of like sidle up and like, go like behind them, and we're just kind of like, what's going on? We're trying to like look over the shoulder, and you could totally see like a uh a guy going down on a woman, just going to town,
Uh,
just going to town. And these two officers are just arms folded, just standing there, just like, nodding, just like watching, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we're just standing, and like a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes goes by. And finally, one of them kind of just like, I think they've noticed it's like some presence, and they kind of slowly turns his head, and he's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And we're like, hey, what? And he's like, yeah, move along, move along. Nothing to see here. Move along, nothing to see here. We're just like, I think there's something to say here, We're like, oh, okay, officer. I think, they were embarrassed that, we kind of were like watching with them, but it's back in the day. But anyway, so 97, your first year, so you go, I find that amazing. You went like you just flew to Reno, got a car, didn't know anybody, and just went by yourself.
yep. And that's the only time I've gone by myself,
And you
actually.
didn't die.
And I didn't die. It was yeah, it was neat that first year. What's really cool is I actually have a I took a lot of pictures, which I didn't do later years. But the first year I had, had a nice Nikon, and I took some really nice pictures. And later, after the Burning Man event in Austin, my Burning Flipside, um, those friends, I actually found them in my old pictures in 1997. I've got pictures of a few of my good friends walking down to Playa, and of course at the time I had no idea that they would be a part of my life or anything like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it's just that synchronicity is very strong at Burning Man.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, yeah. So after 97, when you went back, like what were you thinking? Were you just like,
Well,
that's it?
no, I did. It was opposite. I had this. I started a party called Tiki Fest, and I started it back in 1986 in Berkeley. I went to Santa Cruz. We had a big beach party, and it was like a real California beach party. I mean,
Hmm.
barbecue, volleyball, and
Yeah.
kegs, and it was a lot of fun. And so then I had it in my house in my Tiki Fest. I had it in I had a house that we were renting in Berkeley, and so I got like a ton of sand, literally a ton of sand, and made like a brick barbecue for sauteing lamb, and
Wow.
built this. I mean, I went crazy. I got reed fencing and palm trees in my entire backyard like a luau, and literally like this one girl said I was a one man fraternity. Because it was it was that with that skill, but
Uh,
it was just me and a couple of friends. Um, so what had happened is when I moved to Austin, I actually had parties in my backyard, and I turned the roof into a fountain. I built a little lagoon, I palm trees. I built paper mache volcanoes, which I had fireworks coming out of.
wow.
Um, and I called that Tiki Fest, and so what happened is my last year in 19, um, I'm not exactly sure, but I'd outgrown my house. I had like 280 people in my little three-bedroom house, and
Oh, wow.
so back to I had gone to these pagan events outside of Austin since 1991, and I knew the landowner owner really well. And so after I went to Burning Man, I called her up and I said, "Hey, I think I'd like to have my own event." And
Yeah.
so that's when we started planning, because then I had a venue. I had this campground
And
that
was
I had
this
been to.
like between 97 and 98 that you were starting all this?
Yeah, yeah. So, so yeah, it was 97. And the first event was in 1998, and I called it Burning Man at Texas because I didn't know what else to call it. And we actually put like an ad in the paper, in the Chronicle, and some other places, and tried to do a little hype. We'd been meeting, a group of us had been meeting um, at the Dog and Duck, which is an old bar in Austin,
Okay.
but a couple times a month. So it's pretty regular, and that was where we started planning the first event.
So that was
The
just like an
Burning Man at
organic,
Texas.
like you just kind of like
Yeah.
met Bernard. Well, how'd you meet the
Well, what I
Bernards?
did, how I here, no, I was smart. There's Eeyore's birthday party in Austin, which has been around for about 50 years, 52 years. And it's a big hippie fest. There's like big drum circles and beer and food, and it's like all the hippies come out. It's awesome. So I had some flyers I made. I mean, nothing fancy. It's just black and white,
Yeah.
printout. Basically about the event. And I went around, like one person had a Statue of Liberty, but it was actually a statue of Eeyores. So Eeyores was a Statue of Liberty. I'm like, well, that's really cool. I mean, that'd be awesome for Burning Man, right? So so I gave them a flyer, and I gave some other people, and then I ended up having about 30 show up that weekend. It
Wow.
was actually like June 8th, because I think the campground was already booked for Labor Day, for Memorial Day.
Okay.
So that's what's really amazing is at that same time, Burning Man was doubling in size. My event was, I mean, the first year of Flipside, we went from 30 to 300, and then we went from
That's
that,
an order
then
of
we went,
magnitude. Yeah.
yeah, an order of magnitude. And then the next year we went to like 600. And within like 5 years, we were at 1,000.
Wow.
And then we outgrew the property, and then
Mhm.
worked our way, found a new property that we were at, Flat Creek.
So between 97 and 98, so your first year on the playa, you come back. I mean, most people are thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna make some new costume for next year," or like maybe I won't go with, but just by myself, but maybe camp with like one or two other people. Like you're busy
Yeah,
starting like the very first like what would become a regional group, with, like before that even existed. Like,
yep.
wow, okay. So then when you went back in 98, like how did that go? Like I take it
Well,
you
it was
didn't go by
great. So
yourself.
then I think I put another ad in the paper, in the Chronicle, looking for somebody to go with me to Burning Man. And I got this one guy, Clint, um, who later became a really good friend, obviously, and actually a roommate, and will be my roommate in Colorado when I finally get out there. And then a woman, Jennifer, who was like a library science grad student or something. And so the three of us, I was going to take my beach party out to Burning Man. So I rented like a 16-foot trailer. I had a Jeep Wrangler. I filled the 16-foot trailer with everything to build a tiki hut and a bar and packed it pretty full, and then we drove up to Burning Man, and it was quite an adventure. We ran out of gas like in the middle of Texas and had to call the sheriff to get a
Well, how many people?
ride.
So was it just you and Clint, or did you go with like
No,
a
me,
group?
Clinton, Jennifer, and my friend
Oh,
Jennifer.
oh, okay.
And she's pretty radically tattooed and stuff, and so she was a very interesting character to have on. And so yeah, we got there, and basically I built a paper mache volcano on site at Burning Man, and I had a generator. This is back when you could actually dig in the playa, and I
Oh,
dug a I dug a hole. I put my generator in it, and then I put my volcano, my paper mache volcano, over the hole where the generator's in. So it was like a baffle. So that was kind of
oh,
cool.
that's a great
And then
idea.
I got a smoker, so I constantly had smoke coming out the top.
Yeah, like a
So
fog
that was
machine
pretty.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, but it was actually
Ah,
just
yeah.
mesquite smoke. Now, the
Oh, wow.
funny thing about that is I actually got pulled over in the ag jet. I have a whole school bus full of
Uh-huh.
stuff. That's a whole other story. That was just the beginning, the 1998. I mean, I basically had an amazing, unbelievable time. My friends I had met who had lived in Reno,
Hmm.
had come back and met in Austin, came back, invited their friends. They were in Reno and went and saw a band that was hillbilly surfabilly.
Huh.
And they're like, oh my God, you've got to go to Burning Man. You know, I mean, you need to literally come out and you need to find this camp and you need to do, and they showed up. So all of a sudden, tiki lights and the big bar and all of a sudden this band shows up and they're
Wow.
playing like bass and they're just playing stuff. And now I've got like 500 people around. I mean, watching this performance, and we're doing limbo, and I mean, it was just over the top.
Wow.
So, but that wasn't really over the top because the next year, 1999, is when we had Flipside in right Memorial Day. So we had 300 friends all of a sudden, whereas 2 years ago I had 30. Now I got 300, and they wanted to have a camp. And Larry Harvey, actually, I was in San Francisco on business, and I was invited to a Spark meeting, a Spark party, and that
Yeah.
was we're in the early staff in the Cacophony Society and that whole thing. So I got a flavor of that because I was actually invited. And Larry Harvey, this is the first year of Villages. And Larry Harvey pulled me aside and personally asked me if I would bring a village to Burning Man that
This
year,
is between 98 and 99.
which is going to be 1999. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And um, so we're doing a village, and so so I'm like, I had gotten approved to have a bar in center camp, which center having in center camp is the center of the city,
Yeah,
and I was this is some good stories, um,
yeah.
and so anyway, I had this idea. I had such a successful party that I decided the next year I bought a full school bus and I put like a 3 foot rack on the top and a ladder. And that year I took 10,000 pounds of stuff. So I weighed it empty and weighed it full before we left.
5 tons.
10,000 pounds of stuff, yeah, 5 tons of stuff to the playa, so we could do the village and I could do my camp, and that was kind of crazy. I have to say that I'm glad I had that energy back when I was 34.
Yeah. So that was okay. So you had a big camp, you had a big event, and it was center camp. You had a bar and everything. Like, would you say how many people did you have? Well, like 300 or
Well,
oh,
300, you're right, in 1999 at Flipside.
but I mean, like at your camp at Burning Man. I mean, it wasn't probably like
Oh, no,
300 there.
no, that was when the band came, the
Oh,
Surfabilly band,
okay. And what was the name of your camp that was there at center camp?
Tiki Fest,
Oh, the Tiki
Tiki Fest.
Fest.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I
Oh, so
remember that.
that's a funny story because um, we arrived the first day. There was a total whiteout, and we were next to first camp, and we had just driven. We were all drunk, and I'd driven out to Burning Man with four
You're just
people.
driven and
So
you're all drunk. Hmm.
no, I mean we drove
Not the
out there. We
driver.
drove
You're
out.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. The whole point of having a bus. So
the passenger.
um, yeah, so that was pretty amazing. And then the next year, it was interesting because I met my wife in 1999 at a pagan event,
Ah,
and now I met her on my birthday, which is June 18th, and I was like I bought a bus, I was doing all this stuff, and she really wanted to go to Burning Man with me. But I was really worried because we didn't know each other that well that,
yeah.
it's
Well, Burning
relationships
Man
are
is
hard.
yeah, it can be harsh on your skin, it can be harsh on your tent, and especially harsh on your relationships. You know.
Yeah, so I didn't want to risk it that year. And so the next year I
Um,
took the bus out and she drove out with me, and that was that then she went. So I basically went to Burning Man from 97 to 2004.
okay.
And
Oh, so
and then
age,
that
yeah.
then in 2005 life happened, and in 2006 we got married and other stuff. And so
Yeah. So let's
um
see,
I
97,
just
98, 99, 2000,
so
2001,
I, so I
2002.
took a break until
So 7
20.
years, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 7 years.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, because I mean
what do you want to talk about?
well, that's quite frequently I found it like 7 years in a row. I mean, definitely I would put you in the category of like a veteran.
Yeah,
It
I've been
may,
a total of 13. I've been a total of 13.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. It's just like since '96 I've had 13, but it's like, but it's 28 years. It's like, yeah, 13 times over 28 years,
Well, I mean,
Because that's what I said, like
consider.
life intervenes. I mean, that's just sometimes it's kind of hard to imagine when you're out there in the Black Rock Desert and the playa, and it's like, the whole rest of the world doesn't mean anything. But it's like,
Yeah,
I mean, people get married, people have kids, and then it comes back around again later.
yeah, yes, and that's something I've learned with just helping form a community and an organization. Um, is I just totally lost our thought.
What I was saying, like life kind of takes your focus on, then it kind of comes back around. You said like, but
Oh
then
yeah,
like
that's
the
right. I
organizing the
know.
community.
I know it was so just regarding volunteering. One
Mm-hmm.
thing I've learned is that don't take it personally. It's really hard not to take it personally if somebody steps back and says, "I don't want to do this anymore," or "I don't want to go." And I
Mm-hmm.
have some friends that had that. And maybe they had a toxic incident at the event. You know, a
Well,
lot
it's
of
kind
times
of
as a lot of times as an LC member, I wouldn't hear about I would hear stuff during the event, but there would always be something that I would hear after the event, and then you'd be like, why didn't you tell me during the event? 'Cause I can't. It's much more difficult to go and rectify something,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
after. And so that's something I learned
yeah.
is just you can't take that personally when volunteers decide that they need a break.
Yeah. Well, also you have to remember like different people are kind of on their own different wavelength. They're on their own different path. It's
Oh
like they might
yeah,
have started earlier, and so now you're kind of like, hey, maybe I need to take a little break. Whereas like somebody, it's like you show up at a party late, and you're just like, come on, let's get this party started. And it's like, yeah, I've been here for 5 hours. Thank you very much.
right.
Yeah. So what point did the Burning Man project come to you and talk to you about the whole like regional network or I mean, I'm sure that like that was just a nascent kind of thing. I mean, like how did
No, so
that
I
all
can
come
tell you.
about?
Well, I'll tell you the story. So I was again in San Francisco on business, and I
What year
reached
was
out
this?
to. This would have been 97 after my 97 burn,
Okay.
right? So 97, I go up by myself. I fly out and I go up by myself. 98, I take my my team camp, my tiki party, and then 2000, or 1999, I'm center camp, which is pretty cool because I partied like with 1999 in 1999.
You've done it
And
all.
yeah, and so anyway, I was out there. I got in touch with Harley, who so a little bit more about that. I'm actually a lifetime member of Burning Man, and
Did you
believe it or
buy the
not,
ticket?
such a thing exists.
What was that?
In
Okay, what year
19
was that?
in
Was that
1990
97?
1997
I remember that. I
1997.
remember Larry on the soapbox being like, if you give us, what was it like
Yeah,
$500 or
yep,
something?
$500.
Oh,
And
I
then
remember
when
that. I was like, I wish I had $500 in cash. But
well, I got back to Phoenix, and I thought, I got more out of Burning Man than any amount of therapy. You know what I mean? I mean, for $500, that is the
so, so,
value is so
so to
so
explain it
cheap.
to the listeners, it's like in 1997 at the end, like they were the Brady Man Project. This is the first year that there was like they formed their LLC, and that's a whole big story about what happened in 1997.
Yeah,
And so they had a big cash crunch, and so they were asking for money. And so this was a one time, they never did this ever again, where they said, if you give us $500, you get a ticket to Burning Man for life. I think you bought one of those. My friend
yep.
Curtis Colvin, he bought one of those. I think you're the only two people I know. Like, I'm not sure how many people. It's like 50 or 80 people.
No, it was
Something like that.
actually 30. I know
30.
that for I know that for a fact because so here's more to my story.
Okay.
In so after 1997, I'm really excited, and I'm out in California. So I reached out to Harley. I said, "Hey, I'm organizing this benefit for Burning Man at my house in Austin in October. It was like October 17th or something. I'd like to get some swag so I can have it at the thing." And so they sent me out a whole box load of 1997 swag,
Wow.
and I had the videos of like the different news, what little coverage there was. They sent me the videos of that,
Uh-huh.
and so they were so like impressed. um, Harley said, "Well, you want to go out to dinner?" So we went out to an Indian place and had dinner. And she said, "Well, you and there's other people in Canada and some other people doing stuff. What do you think of joining a regional network of burns?" I said,
Wow.
"Yeah, that sounds awesome." So there was obviously activity at the same time, but I was doing it. I'm not the only person to come up with the idea of having a Burning Man event, but actually I kind of was the first one to hey, I'm going to bring this home to Texas and do that. Palo de
Hmm.
Fuega was later that summer. I forget, maybe Labor Day. Um,
That was
so
East
technically we
Coast
were,
PDF, right? Was that like
yeah, and they also
Maryland,
had
Delaware?
Assateague Island. They had an active
Yeah.
burn around 97, 98. Um, And so the only so basically we just kind of coexisted with Burning Man. I I, at first I gifted them some tickets, but then they eventually would buy a block of tickets, and so there'd be a few Burning Man staff members around, and we were still on that first property. Danger Ranger came,
Uh-huh.
and that was pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
So so it's really cool because some people kind of narrated like there's this kind of fuck you attitude in Texas towards authority and towards the Burning Man org, but really actually we have a very good relationship, and they've come to Flipside and we go out and volunteer at Burning Man, and so we have a really good that's the neat thing about the network is anywhere you go, there's burners. I
Oh
mean, it's
yeah.
amazing. I was in Asheville briefly for a weekend trip. Oh, I've met some burners. We invited to a birthday party with all the kinds of stuff, and just meeting burners is awesome.
It's almost kind of like a, not quite like a Skull and Bones secret society, but I mean, it is. I mean, because for me, like Burning Man's always been about like what I call it, the connection. It's like you go
Yeah.
to the playa and like who you are in the rest of the world doesn't really mean anything. It's like your new name is now, at a wobbling crank, or something
So
like.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's like it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, and then like you go out into the rest of the world and you meet somebody, and it's, I mean, kind of like a fraternity or like a secret society where it's like, oh, you're a burner, I'm a burner. It's like, hey, come in my house, have a
Well,
drink, stay in my house.
one of my interesting stories was, you know, after around 2005, six or something, I could mention Burning Man and not be thought as some totally crazy person at work. And that it was very interesting to see that go from like I don't want anybody to know that I'm in this secret society that goes to that party in the desert
Yeah.
to hey, yeah, no, all those billionaires, Google and
Well,
Silicon
nowadays, yeah,
Valley,
yeah.
they're that's where their playground was, and is.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, but I mean, and I think one of the questions I know you're interested in is how it changed my life. Well, it's just totally
Yeah.
enriched it with amazing relationships. And and the fact that I can go pretty much anywhere in the world, and there are burners that I can connect with, and I'm very excited about the sustainability stuff that Burning Man is involved with, the Fly Ranch and all that. And so it's neat. It was hard to step back after being the very first regional contact to finally give it up. But when I moved with my health issues, then it
Yeah.
didn't make sense.
And like meet someone, you make a connection. It's like, oh, you're a burner, I'm a burner.
Yeah, and then it was neat because one of the other things I did recently, it's been 5 or 6 years now, but I started San Antonio Burn, which was San Antonio burners. So
Okay.
there's a large community of burners in Austin. Flipside eventually got to 3,000 people every year, and yeah, there's not that many in San Antonio. But we found the campground kind of like I did before, and we had an event. And we enjoyed it and had a little, had an effigy and some art. We tried to do as well we could, and we that continues to go on. We've changed lands now, but I missed that the last one. But what was neat is even that San Antonio community, it was pretty small, maybe 20 people. I have, one burner had been to burning Korea. She was in Korea, stationed in Korea. And that's when she became a burn. And then another one did the Africa burn. And it was really neat seeing a broadcast from Africa burn and
Yeah.
actually recognizing people, friends there at the event, halfway around the world. I mean, it's really neat.
Yeah. So, how do you think, I mean, what do you think the impact of Burning Man has been on your life? Like, how has it changed you? Like, if you had never gone to Burning Man, it was like, would everything still be the same?
No, not at all. I had a friend who, San Antonio burner friend, and she's basically told me, before Burning Man, I was a total bitch. I was a real jerk, and it just
Wait,
really changed.
before?
And yeah, and it changed my thing. And she was very outgoing, and her attitude had changed, and I think because now I see it. I mean, I've got friends who their kids have grown up going to Flipside in Austin, and they still go out every year. And it was neat because this last year, one of my good friends brought his son for the first time, yeah, to Flipside,
Okay.
and so it's neat to see that generational, and realizing that you're part of this a larger community, and then the neat thing is when we do have setbacks, if people are in trouble, everybody rallies to help them out.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah.
it's a really strong community,
It's
and
really interesting to think that like because I think on the first time that I went, I think I was what like 26 or something. I mean,
okay.
you're probably fairly young too, right?
Well,
You know,
well, yeah, I would have been like 32 or something.
yeah. But yeah, now fast forward like 20, 30 some odd years later, I mean it's like not so young anymore. It's like yeah, trailing the wee ones, we have kids, I mean, like life moves on, But
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know, just kind of the focus of this show, just talking about like just like how Burning Man has like changed people, and just kind of like
Well,
what it means to you and like and
so one thing that I think is very important is volunteering doesn't is not only makes you part of the community, but there's a lot of personal development that can come. So if you think about our effigies, we have a history of making spectacularly complex, interesting wooden effigies, and we have a warehouse in
Mhm.
Austin where we build them, and that's sustained through our ticket money all year round. We have our own clubhouse, if you will, which really that was a
Def-
really key element in building community in
yeah.
Austin was actually having a dedicated space.
Hmm.
But what's neat is you can go and volunteer on DAP, have no experience with a hammer and nail, and learn how to build complex carpentry. And there are so many people where they might and it just they might have a waitress job or something like that, but at Flipside, they're running a whole department of like 20 volunteers or more,
Hmm.
and so you kind of see that the organization, the community, there's opportunities for growth, and it's neat. One of my favorite stories is one of my first LLC friends, on the legal liability corporation that managed Flipside. Um, he decided he wanted to be kind of in charge of the fire, effigy fire and all that. And
Okay.
so he learned about fire safety. He did all that. He ended up volunteering for a volunteer fire department. And then he actually moved to this one out near Houston, which is very prestige. And he's like the head fireman. And he's like, George, you've totally changed my life. He used to work in at Dell Financial Services in the cubicle. I was actually working with at Dell at the same time. And yeah, now
So that
now
wouldn't have
now
happened
he's
if
a
he hadn't.
fireman. Hadn't ever met me or gone to Flipside or
Wow.
been involved in and found that he had an interest, or skill.
So
And
that
so I
broadening
think that's
his
a neat thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that broadened his horizons, showed him like, oh yeah, there's other things that maybe I could do this, and
exactly. I think it opens people up to more possibilities.
yeah. I mean, also other part of it is kind of like I don't know if it's like a fraternity or like a boot camp. It's just kind of a uh, communal kind of struggle. It's like you're going out. I mean, especially like the Black Rock Desert, you're going to this place that can kill you. And it's uncomfortable. Or at least it used to be. Nowadays, maybe a little different, But I mean, still, I mean, it's uncomfortable. Look what happened last year with all like the
Oh
water
yeah,
and rain and everything. But and that's a perfect example. It's like even with today's modern creature comforts, it's like the deluge opens up and it rains for days. And it's like, and then so what happens? People come together. I mean, if you
yeah,
look at the media, it's like all doom and gloom. Oh my God, Chris Rock and Diplo. Oh, it's just like there's some people are stuck out there, and it's just like the reality is like no, people kind of came together, and it's like oh, the power went out. The refrigeration kind of ended. It's like well, now we have to cook all this food. Hey, we're having a big banquet. Everyone pull up a plate and
yeah.
the fork and a knife. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so how about for you? So now this is like many years later, and I
Mhm.
take it you've retired from the active like regional contact role
Right.
and like organizing Flipside and I don't know.
Hey, Alma Burn. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stepped back. I became disabled a couple years ago, and I'm
Okay.
still dealing with that. And I'm typically in a wheelchair walker.
Are you still
So
working or are
now,
you like retired?
no, no, I'm on disability now, so I'm
Oh, okay.
retired. And yeah, fortunately, I did pretty well when I was at USAA, and
Hmm.
I'm doing okay. So, um, but now I'm already thinking about like, wow, how do I get to Burning Man? I'm looking at buying a all-wheel drive vehicle that can tow at least a tear rock trailer, and then I'll go to the disability camp where evidently they can power up your wheelchair and stuff like that. And so, I'm looking forward to going back, not this year, maybe next or the year after, but to
Yeah.
go back and do it. It would be nice. I've even thought about just renting an RV, even though it's expensive.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Well, I think it's a lot hotter nowadays, but
exactly.
yeah, at least that's what I've been told. But I mean, do you still have? I mean, you must still have like friends who are going there, right? Or is
Oh
it
yeah.
that's I'm sure is that same camp that you started in '98 still going or
No, no, no. I stopped that around 2000. Well, that was 2005. My bus died, and that was kind of the end of it.
ah hmm.
Yeah, I blew the engine on a school bus. Remember, I told you I took 10,000 pounds. Yeah, that's what happened. That was on the
That'll
way back.
that'll do
Yeah,
it.
the way back on the way. This is another story. Coming back from Burning Man, we went to Van Horn, Texas. Paso, and maybe 20 miles, 30 miles outside the city. And all of a sudden, the engine like stops, huge smoke, and it comes out. And get out, and the rod has shot through the engine,
Oh,
and all the oil, all the 8 gallons of oil were on the pavement. And it was just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And we ended eventually 2 hours later got a tow truck that we could barely fit in, tow us to Odessa. And
uh-huh,
Odessa is like an oil town, and it's
uh-huh,
not the safest place.
yeah.
And they put it in a salvage yard and I had like DJ equipment. I had probably $10,000 in stuff
Uh-huh.
on the bus. And so I basically had to then organize, hey guys, I need people to help me go back up to Odessa and drive the bus down. before everything's stolen, because
Hmm.
we got rentals we need to get back and all that. So I was able to get some friends to do that, and we got it there. Then I had a fundraiser and got enough money to get a new engine. So
Hmm.
that was good until I blew it up 2006. So,
So it might be the end of the road for that bus, but like, how about for you? You know, I mean, like you said, you might possibly head back to the Playa, Black Rock City, one or two more, or however many more times. But
oh yeah, I
like
mean, with the
Flipside, you can still
lifetime,
go, or
yeah, oh yeah. I didn't go this last year. I just couldn't pull it off. But the year before, I went
Mhm.
and rented a custom van, and that worked out really well. It was a big push though, because I was still pretty disabled.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm doing better now. I mean, I hope is over time get more and more functionality. But yeah, I basically was in the hospital for a year, and so I lost all my strength, and so I couldn't walk.
Mm. Well, you just got to keep at it. Within a few years, you'll be at the Thunderdome, you know.
Exactly, with a prosthetic, probably. But, well, and I'm interesting to see. No, I really do want to go out to the playa again. It's definitely in my planning, but it may
But it's
be a
different
couple
than like,
years.
the first couple of years, like the honeymoon phase, like the first 3 or 7 years
Yeah,
or so, where so many people are just like, oh, I'm going to do this like every year for the rest of my life. And then, time, like I said, like time goes by and you get married and you have a kid and you move and you have a job and you like life intervenes. But I don't know. It's like, I think it's kind of like a magnetar, it kind of pulls you back.
yeah.
I mean, it might not be like, okay, now that I've been gone for 13 years, now I shall go every single year for the next 13 years. Like, no,
So
let's try one.
one thing that inspired me from Burning Man in my life is looking at the future, thinking about the future.
Okay.
And it got to the point where I actually, had Burning Man friends. Somebody knew somebody who had gone to a future study program in Houston.
Hmm.
So I knew this thing. And so I looked into it and I got USAA to pay for me to get a master's degree in foresight, which is futurism. So I'm actually a
So
professionally
not
trained.
like some metaphysical, like seeing
Yeah.
into the future, but
I'm
more
a,
like
prof- a prof-
planning, like
yeah, professional. I'm a professional
fortune telling.
futurist. And
Wow.
it's neat. It's neat because you see a lot of technology and stuff gets tested on the playa,
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember
and so
seeing
there's always
drone swarms in like the late 90s, and be like, what
yeah.
the hell is that? Like, yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Anything I mean, it seems like Burning Man has definitely had like a major influence in your life and
Absolutely
changed
for
everything around,
positive.
and it's
Yep.
still working its magic on you.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, I still
yeah,
drink the Kool-Aid.
yeah. Maybe a little less sugar nowadays, but
Yeah.
still drink the Kool-Aid. Well, all right. Well, thanks for talking. It's been an amazing story. Do you have any plugs? Anything you want
No.
to point people to? You have like a personal like website or
Oh well.
charities or anything?
No, my Twitter account is at Tiki God.
Okay.
So that's my
So yeah.
Twitter, and yeah, there you go.
So if people want to
That'll
get in
get
touch
me.
with you, like, all right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so much for this. Is my very first like inaugural interview for Shadow of the Man, and I don't know. I mean, and hopefully I'll see you on the playa maybe one of these years, or
Absolutely. Maybe I'll
yeah.
see you in Hawaii.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anytime.
I love it.
All
All
right.
right.
Well,
You have a great week.
okay. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe, rate, and review it. Tell a friend and help to spread the word. The more engagement we get, the more likely this project will grow. If there's enough support, perhaps we can do a lot more of these interviews and publish more shows per month. You can also follow Shadow of the Man on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. The links for these pages are all available on the front page of shadowoftheman.com. See you next month for a new episode of The Shadow of the Man.
Thank you for listening to this latest show. We have to make another one, so gotta go. Don't worry, for next month we already have one in the can. Very soon you'll be listening to a new Shadow of the Man.